City Council to order, please. Joanne, could you please call the roll?
Kevin Tansky.
Here.
Barb Politsky. Here. Ron Van Kirk.
Here.
Tony DeMarco.
Here.
Debbie Tomusko.
Here.
Kathy Pucci. Here. Mary Belvier. Here.
Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like the public to know that the City Council will hold an informational work session regarding the needs assessment project. That'll take place at 6 p.m. next Monday, November 21st. That will take place in the conference room, and that is to discuss the needs assessment that has been worked on for the last, 8 months to a year that we've been working on that. So that'll be at 6 p.m. Next week.
May I be recognized?
Yes.
Could you just explain the needs assessment was an assessment of all the buildings?
Yeah, that we had a contractor that came in and did an assessment of all the 7 of the buildings here in the city of Brooklyn, from the senior center to this building that we're sitting in here, the rec center, the fire station, the service garage, the animal shelter. I don't think I'm missing anything. But there were 7 buildings that they did assessments to, and they came back with needs that we need in those buildings according to them. And so that was kind of the beginning stages of planning for the future for the city of Brooklyn. And so next Monday we're gonna go over that document, and it's a rather lengthy 206 pages, I think. And we're gonna start to go over that and look and see what the immediate needs are for the future of the city as far as the buildings go, and what will be needed in the future as well. Sure. All right, this evening we do have a lengthy agenda this evening, so let me go over it very quickly. We do still currently have 4 items. Held in advance, Ordinance 2015-77 is establishing the full-time position of Economic Development Director. Resolution 2016-5 is declaring City Council's intent to vacate a portion of Montgomery Place south of Manoa Avenue and requiring notice to be published. Ordinance 2016-32, establishing Chapter 1362, Certificate of Inspection at Point of Sale, and amending Section 1360.24, repair of code violations. And then Resolution 2016-10, supporting the utility workers of America Local 270 to reinstate First Energy's healthcare cost sharing for active members and retirees. Under old business, we have Resolution 2016-11, which is up for 3rd reading and adoption this evening, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the District Board of Health of Cuyahoga County for health services for the year 2017 for $46,016. Resolution 2016-13 is on 2nd reading, approving the application of the City of Brooklyn to apply for a Community Development Block Grant for the Road-Own Road Reconstruction Project. Then a sistering Resolution 2016-14 is also on 2nd reading, approving the application of the City of Brooklyn to the Cuyahoga County Supplemental Grant Program for that same Road-Own Road Reconstruction Project. Then Ordinance 2016-68 is up for adoption this evening. This is authorizing a purchase and service agreement between the City of Brooklyn and Bailey Communications for a new voice over IP phone system and full service 5-year maintenance agreement in the amount of $170,405.43. Then Ordinance 2016-70 is up for 3rd reading and adoption to amend the annual appropriations for this year. Ordinance 2016-71 is up for 3rd reading and adoption, authorizing the mayor of the City of Brooklyn to pay an incentive to employees able to opt out of medical coverage under the city's medical plan. Ordinance 2016-73 is up for 3rd reading and adoption, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Software Solutions Incorporated to provide an accounting and software upgrade and system upgrade for the finance and payroll departments. Ordinance 2016-77 is on 2nd reading, provide for the creation and use of a Brooklyn Community Improvement Corporation Fund, a sub-fund of account 102. And Ordinance 2016-78 is on 2nd reading, authorizing the mayor to enter an agreement with Brooklyn Community Improvement Corporation and Geist Companies for a development and planning study relating to the City Center project in the amount of $50,000. Then we have 3 items that are new to the agenda this evening. The first one is Ordinance 2016-82, and this is the temporary annual appropriations for the year 2017. And Ordinance 2016-83, establishing rules and regulations and rental fees for the use of the City of Brooklyn Fire Station Community Room and the Community Center. And then lastly is Ordinance 2016-84, accepting the medical insurance renewal from Medical Mutual of Ohio, providing medical insurance coverage of eligible employees from December 1st, 2016 to December 31st, 2017, and a dental coverage plan from 2016 to January 1st, 2019. We'll now proceed with our normal council meeting. At this time, we'll have the public session. If anyone in the audience has anything to say for the good and welfare of the city of Brooklyn, please step forward, state your name and address, including your city, and you'll be recognized. Please remember to keep your comments to 5 minutes or fewer.
Good evening. Paula Ritter, 8974 Boxwood Circle, Brooklyn, 44144. Dear Mayor, members of council, directors, fellow residents. It's Thanksgiving time, the time to be thankful. This year, I'm a slow learner apparently. It's the first year I'm going to thank God for my city, for the city government, the mayor, the members of council, the directors, all the employees. I think specifically when I say that of secretaries and also volunteers at the senior center. They're the first call, I suspect, when people are angered. It's dawned on me this year how very hard your job is. We're the taxpayer. You're paid for by us, so we kind of, I imagine, can get difficult. I hope most taxpayers and most people and most residents are better than I. It didn't dawn on me until this year that although I rail against the entitlement mentality, that I as a Brooklyn resident feel quite entitled. I feel I'm entitled to all good services. I take them for granted. I don't appreciate them. I do now. I hope most people are better than I. I had an epiphany on Easter Sunday. I knew we had paramedics, and I thought, why shouldn't we? Doesn't everybody? You know, and they should be good, and we should have a good ambulance. That's just an entitlement. Then I came to know the paramedics. It's not like me to get soft-hearted, so don't let it happen, God. Their faces, I've always see their faces. These young men were the age of what could be my grandchildren. Their expertise, their professionalism, their compassion. I have another adjective here that's escaped me, but all that is good I found in these men. They gave me security and strength. Here I could be their grandmother. They were wonderful, those people that I thought I was entitled to. I was driven in an ambulance that had every possible life-saving device, I suspect, that our government had enough common sense to provide. It was a hospital on wheels, and I could hear them talking to the hospital. It gave me great security. It gave me great comfort. These paramedics were my lifeline. I don't want to get emotional, but I've fortunately or unfortunately met them a few times since then. They may have even saved my life. In fact, I would suspect they did. I didn't thank them. I always thought I'd get up here and thank them, but I'd see them again before I thanked them. I hope this is my final thank you. I have no words to properly thank them. I have no gift that would properly thank them. All I can do is humbly promise to pray for them and their families, and for all of our employees and our governmental officials and your families, and to grow up and to appreciate, not expect, but to appreciate the fine jobs that you guys do. I thank you very much. God bless us each and all, and God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Where would the fire chief be? You got it quite real good. I do want to thank you and your men, sir.
Thank you.
God bless them.
Thank you for your words.
I hope they work. Thank you, Earl.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mrs. Ritter. Appreciate that, and you're welcome.
Thank you.
It's an honor to serve here.
Thank
We will now move on with our reports of committees, commissions, and boards. And this evening, we'll start off with our Finance Committee. Councilwoman Pucci.
Thank you. Good evening. The Finance Committee did start earlier this evening at 6:15 because we had a lengthy agenda, and once again, I find myself apologizing that we did run over a bit. I will just report tonight on the items that are up for third reading and adoption, and also up for first reading, which means it's new on our agenda. The first is Resolution 2016-11, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the District Board of Health of Cuyahoga County for health services for the year 2017 for a total of $46,016. This is a per capita rate, our per capita rate for the past 3 years was $3.92. Our new per capita rate for 2017 is $4.12, which represents a 5% increase. And everything that I'm reporting on that's for third reading and adoption, the Finance Committee has recommended that Council adopt. Next is Ordinance 2016-68. This is authorizing the purchase and service agreement between the City of Brooklyn and Bailey Communications Incorporated for a new VoIP phone system and full service 5-year maintenance agreement in the amount of $170,405.43. This is the fourth time this is up on our agenda this evening. There was some question at our last meeting regarding the necessity and the cost of the 5-year maintenance agreement. I'm sure Mr. DeMarco will mention in his comments any remaining concerns he may have, but we are prepared, I believe, to pass this evening. Ordinance 2016-70, this is our amended annual appropriations. There were various changes. If anyone is interested in the specific changes, they can contact one of us or call City Hall. The net change to the general fund is an increase of $837,711. The net change to other funds is an increase of $339,093. So the total increase for all funds is $1,176,750. So our new total amended appropriations for 2016 is $263,664. And basically this is just adjustments to our budget to reflect changes as we've gone through the year. Ordinance 2016-71, authorizing the mayor of the City of Brooklyn to pay an incentive to employees to be able to opt out of medical coverage under the city's medical plan. This new legislation is necessary because there are new IRS regulations governing this. Currently, we pay 25% of the premium if employees opt out of coverage under the city's health insurance plan. And since the last meeting, we did receive the documentation and forms that employees will use if they're going to opt out of our insurance. Ordinance 2016-73, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Software Solutions to provide an accounting and software system and upgrade for the finance and payroll departments. This is going to be for $97,000, and we will be paying for this over a 4-year period. We did have a representative at the meeting from SSI who was able to go through what the process is going to entail. Soon after this is signed, they will begin working on updating our chart of accounts, and then they will wait until we have 2016 completely closed out, which should be sometime the end of January, beginning of February, to start implementing the new system, and this will take 12 months. So one of the big goals is, when we're at this point in time in 2017, in working on the 2018 budget, one of the goals is to actually enact our permanent 2018 budget, not a temporary one, in the new system prior to the end of 2017. And we also discussed that this is going to extremely streamline and produce efficiencies at all levels. So this is actually something that is very exciting to me personally. Under new business, which these are all on first reading this evening, we have our 2016-82 temporary appropriations. This is modeled after our 2016 appropriations. However, we all recognize that this will have to be revised. Right now, we're looking at an approximate drop in revenue in 2017 of $4.4 million. So I think everybody recognizes that with a significant drop in revenue like that, we're not going to be able to conduct business as usual. We'll have an email going out soon to schedule a budget meeting early in December, and we'll begin the discussion on how we're going to address this drop in revenue. Ordinance 2016-83 establishes rules and regulations and rental fees for the use of the City of Brooklyn Fire Station Community Room and Community Center. The mayor did say to us that this is to start the discussion. I'll just highlight a couple of the key points. For the Fire Station Community Room, right now they're looking at hours between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. A resident or resident organization would be able to use this room for $20 an hour. A non-resident or a business, the hourly rate would be $35 an hour. For the Senior Community Center, we have a little bit of conflicting information. It's either 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. or 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. A resident or resident organization for half the room would be charged $25 an hour. For the full room, it would be $75 an hour. For a non-resident or one of our resident businesses, half the room would be $40 an hour. The full room would be $75 an hour. So if you do have any comments or questions, we do anticipate that this will go 3 readings. Don't hesitate to contact one of us. The final piece of legislation is 2016-84, and this is our medical insurance renewal from Medical Mutual, providing medical insurance coverage for our eligible employees, and this will run from December 1st, 2016 to December 31st, 2017. The dental component of it will switch over to a company called Delta Dental, and this will go from December 1st through, for a 2-year plan to January 1st of 2019. The good news is that we did realize a reduction in our both for healthcare, a minimal increase in healthcare coverage and a reduction in the dental. So we'll report more on this as we get more detail. We will be passing this, though, by emergency measure at the next meeting, so we can get it passed prior to the expiration on December 1st. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pucci. Next up is Recreation Board, Councilman Tansky.
Thank you. The Brooklyn Recreation Department is offering swim lessons for all ages. Swimming lessons are a great way for kids to get exercise and have fun. Swimming lessons will calm your child's water fears, teach them life-saving skills, and build confidence. Learn to Swim winter registration begins November 14th. Classes start December 12th and run through January 11th. The program is to run in accordance with the American Red Cross, and all of our teachers are certified water safety instructors. Cost as follows: residents $25, non-residents $32.50. Parma Heights Partnership $28.75. For more information on learning to swim, please contact the John M. Coyne Recreation Center at 216-351-5334. The next Recreation Board meeting will be held on Monday, November 21st, in the Rec Center Meeting Room, 7 p.m. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tansky. Next up is the Domestic Abuse Commission, Councilwoman Politsky.
Thank you, Mr. Van Kirk. I wrote this report this morning, and Mrs. Ritter, you would think that we were both on the same wavelength when you hear this report. The Brooklyn Police Department is in the process of updating their domestic violence policies. I believe they are excellent right now. I have a copy of their Victim Rights and Resource Brochure, and I would like to read their mission statement from it. It is the Brooklyn Police Department's mission to serve as partners with our citizens to maintain a safe and peaceful community. We commit ourselves to the preservation of life, protection of property, and the safeguarding of individual liberties. We are dedicated to accomplishing this with service, integrity, professionalism, pride, and respect. It is given to each victim. It contains all the information and resources the victim needs to be safe from their abuser. I have always believed that our safety forces are second to none in their commitment to our community. One of the reasons I have lived in Brooklyn for 45 years. With the danger they face in this current mistrust of authority, their jobs become even more dangerous. I invite you to thank every member of our safety forces each time you see them. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Politsky. Next up is the Board of Zoning Appeals, Commissioner Kolsar.
Thank you. The next Board of Zoning Appeals meeting has been scheduled for Thursday, November 17th, 6 p.m. here in the City Hall Conference Room. They're going to be hearing a request from Elwood, Ohio Machine for proposed barbed wire on top of a 6-foot chain link fence located at 9000 Brook Park Road, permanent parcel number 433-18-014. This property is zoned general business district, so variance is required for this request. The next request is from Osborne Engineering on behalf of Ryder Truck Rental Incorporated for a 7% minimum lawn landscape area variance at 1300 Brook Park Road, permanent parcel 433-16-005, 433-16-013, and 433-16-014. And that is all. Complete our report. Thank you.
Also, next up is the Planning Commission, Councilwoman Pucci.
Thank you. The next meeting of the Planning Commission is on Thursday, December 1st at 6 p.m. in the conference room. I don't think the agenda's out yet. Yeah, it's not out yet. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Pucci. We'll now move on with reports of council, and this evening we begin with Councilman Tansky.
Thank you. The report's going to be short. I would like to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving and a wonderful holiday season. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tansky. Next up is Mrs. Politsky.
Thank you, Mr. Van Kirk. Good evening. What a blessing this fall season has been. Wondering when the leaves will finally complete their journey to the ground. Let's hope it happens before we have a major snowfall. Tiedemann Road should be finished in a few days. Mr. Verba may have more information on that. What a relief that will be for all who travel it on a daily basis. Many of you avoid it, but for me that's not possible, and no one will welcome it more than I will. Thanks to our police and service departments who responded quickly whenever I saw a problem and contacted them. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and we have so much to be thankful for in this land of the free. God bless America. I learned some very, very sad news this afternoon. A lifelong Brooklyn resident business owner of Sterner Sod, and my very good friend, Michelle Pagano, passed away this morning. I spent many hours discussing the care and feeding of roses with her. She was an expert. Whenever I needed a donation for our annual Garden Club plant sale, she was always there to donate vegetable and flower flats. We use these funds to raise, we use the funds we raise to do various projects throughout the city. She will be missed by all who knew her. My condolences to her husband, John, her children, and grandson. Her son, Anthony, was a good friend of my grandson. Losing those your children's age is really difficult to process. And that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Blitzky. Next up is Mr. DeMarco.
I would first like to congratulate the Cleveland Indians on an unbelievable season. Not only for Brooklyn, we're maybe indirectly impacted, but I think it's a lesson for all of us in what can be done with limited resources when you have a strategy, when you have a plan, and when you have alternatives if plan A or plan B doesn't work. So congratulations to them. I'm also, I'm not sure if I'm excited, but I'm happy that we're finally having this meeting regarding the assessment report on all of our facilities. It's something that I pushed for a few years, and I'd like to thank the council members that were around that passed the ordinance to fund the assessment of our properties. From what we're hearing, it's not going to be pretty, but we will then have facts that we then can start developing a plan for how we're going to attack some of the issues that we have. And I believe that's all I have. I would also like to wish all of our employees, their families, and all the residents a happy and peaceful Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mr. DeMarco. Next up is Ms. Tomusko.
Yes, good evening. First, I'd like to thank Paula Ritter for coming, and it's wonderful to see you up and around and being here. And I wanted to echo your assessment of the paramedic team here in Brooklyn. I've had the occasion to use them for my own family and also for neighbors, and they're just excellent. Timely, professional, knowledgeable, just unbelievable. Very, very thankful for the paramedics here in Brooklyn. Another thing to be thankful for in my mind is elections are over. We don't have to listen to election ads anymore, regardless of what side you were on. Thank God we don't have to turn the TV on and listen to any of that anymore, and I wanted to thank everybody for voting who did. It's, again, an exceptional country. I had occasion this last week to be out of town, and I was talking to a lot of Canadians, and they just went on and on about how much they admire our country and our spunkiness and our Constitution. So God bless that. And in line with that, God bless belatedly the veterans. Again, I was out of town on Veterans Day, but I wanted to provide a sincere wish. The most selfless people that there are our veterans, fighting for something bigger than themselves. I wanted to also, I reported last time on the Safety and Environmental Committee, and there were 2 items, and each council member has a copy of our, not the agenda, the minutes from that meeting. And there are 2 items that I would like to consider proposing legislation on, but I'd like to get council's input. If everybody could please send me their thoughts either by email, and I think this is okay, Kevin, because it's already been discussed twice in a public forum. If they could send me their thoughts either by email or calling me. One is the concept of not allowing parking on the street during trash day. There have been considerable issues with people not being able, that the trash guys can't get to people's trash cans because there's cars parked on the street. And Director Verba had said that would be a complete blessing for him if there was no parking on the street. Other communities do have that ordinance in place, no parking on the streets during trash day. So it's something I would like to consider proposing, but I would love to get some input from fellow council members on that. The second item is something that it's my understanding that when Ms. Gallagher was a council member, she started to look into, and that's the concept of allowing our service personnel to also do some ticketing. If we have repeat offenders in terms of not putting their trash out the way they need to, or excessive construction waste or whatever, it would allow the service department the opportunity to provide a ticket to that person, so that the police department doesn't have to consistently be bothered with that issue. That's another thing that I'd like to discuss and get some input on as to whether or not it's something that we want to pursue. So again, I'd like to ask my fellow council people and the public as well to please give input onto those two things as we consider them. One other thing about, from Mr. Verba's standpoint, the leaves are finally starting to fall, although I don't know, a lot of trees still have a lot of leaves on them, so we'll see. I guess Sunday it's supposed to snow, so maybe that will bring them down. I wanted to remind people that as they begin to come along, and I don't know, Director Verba, if you'll share with us what the schedule looks like or what the plan is, but remind people that they're supposed to put the leaves on the tree lawn, not in the street. Just a reminder on that, because I see a lot of people blowing them into the street, and that's not a good thing, and it messes up the sewers, etc. And then the one last thing, there's a lot of discussion, and it's come up in a couple of meetings about the City Center project, and I've asked this at a couple of meetings. I would like to again ask if Director Udris, our Economic Development Director, could please come to some of these council meetings and give a report. I think there's I get asked a lot of questions by residents about what's going on from an economic development standpoint in the city, and I would appreciate it if he could try to make an attempt to attend these meetings. I saw that he's coming on the November 28th meeting, but I think it would be helpful if he could come to at least one meeting a month to help answer questions and just give an update on what's going on in economic development in the city. There can't be anything more critical than that, given our revenue situation between this year and next year, with the loss of American Greetings and other drops in revenue. So we need to start thinking about new jobs, new opportunities, and I know Mr. Udris is doing things in that direction, but I'd like him to share it with the community. And then finally, yes, everybody, please, a blessed and wonderful Thanksgiving. There's nothing better in your life than gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tomusko. Next up is Mrs. Pucci.
Thank you. I too would like to thank Mrs. Ritter for her kind comments this evening. Safety historically has not only been a priority in our community, but for many years we were leaders in that area. In fact, I believe we had the first licensed or state licensed paramedic in the state of Ohio, here in Little Brooklyn, Ohio. And it is true that sometimes until you need those critical services from our police department and fire department, I don't know if you would necessarily take it for granted, but sometimes you don't recognize the personal impact that they do have when you need them. And yes, our safety forces are second to none. I echo everything that Mrs. Ritter mentioned: professional, very dedicated, and also very compassionate. So thank you, Mrs. Ritter, for your kind words for our safety forces and all of our employees.
Thank you, Kathy.
Just an update for the rest of council. We had kind of gone back and forth on the resolutions relating to the protecting the retirement, health care, and Mr. Butler did draft a couple different versions. I guess when we get to the legislation portion of our agenda, I could read into the record what the latest version is, just to see what people think. I thank you, Mr. Butler. I know you had a very busy couple weeks, and thank you for working on this. And then we can either decide whether we're going to amend something or just have this introduced at the next council meeting. Just to share with the public that we were notified by the Auditor of State that our audit has been released. So this is now a public record, and also the audit of our landfill fund. So Mr. Schaefer, if you could see that link gets put on our website, I would appreciate that. And I too would like to thank our veterans. I hope that they were able to enjoy their day, and I hope that people were able to express gratitude to veterans they know and their families or maybe friends. I agree with what Ms. Tomusko said, that our veterans are very selfless people who are there for something bigger than themselves, and I think it just puts things in perspective. And finally, I'd like to wish all of our residents, our employees, their families a very happy Thanksgiving. I hope that everyone is able to spend this holiday of gratitude with family and friends. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pucci. Next up is Mrs. Valbier.
Thank you, Mr. Van Kirk. I don't know if it's just that I'm getting old or what it is, but I have somewhat of a hard time driving down Tiedemann Road in the evening. It's very dark, it's very confusing, and all I do is say my Hail Marys and Our Fathers as I'm driving. I don't know if there's something that can be done about that median in the road there, and I was told, Chief Zemek, you may know something about this, if we could paint it or something. It's just so scary driving there, even coming off the ramp. If you don't follow the car ahead of you, you know, there's a chance you may go in that little ditch on the side. So can you give us a little heads up on that? What's going to happen there? Or?
Well, I wrote a letter to the Department of Transportation and asked that be removed, that complete center island. When we're responding southbound on Tiedemann, coming up to 480, 99% of the time our apparatus has to go left to center, and we're approaching head-on traffic trying to get through that intersection. So I've asked for that island to be removed so we can maneuver the vehicles around. I don't know where it's going to go, but I've just asked for it because it's a safety issue.
Have you noticed many more accidents?
Pardon me?
Have you noticed many more accidents? Any more accidents?
No, I haven't. I mean, Chief Milkey could allude if he has. It's just a danger that I'd like to eliminate, that's all.
Thank you. Secondly, yes, a happy belated Veterans Day to all the wonderful veterans that we do have. I also like to thank all the businesses that honored the veterans, like Applebee's, Denny's, and Bed Bath & Beyond. Fortunately, I was able to partake in some of those deals simply because I was married to a veteran. If you would show your ID, your release form from it's the Veterans ID, you were able to get discounts and sometimes free meals. So some places offer 25% off at purchasing items at their stores, which I thought, gee, it took this long to really honor and thank our veterans, for businesses to kind of give them a little bit of break. But I do thank the businesses in the area that especially honored them and gave them discounts. Third, I have a problem with a lot of my neighbors around my street. It's kind of like a half-moon street, and during garbage time, a lot of the neighbors put their big garbage bins in the street. I don't know if that is, I always thought we had to keep them on the tree lawn, but I think many of them are doing it so nobody parks there, and that the trucks, when they're coming down the street, are able to get to the garbage. So I don't know if that's going to be an issue in the future. And then lastly, obviously, we were all greatly concerned about the presidential election. In my lifetime, I'm 58 years old, and I'm sure in most of yours, never have we seen such a more divisive or contentious campaigns. This election, more than any I can remember, seemed to have friends against friends, family members against family members. I personally took umbrage with the slogan, "Make America Great Again." I have always considered America the greatest nation on earth, and there was making it great again when it's already great. This campaign to me reached a new low in lying and mudslinging. I only hope our children will now not be more tolerant of prejudice, sexism, bullying, lying, or in any way feeling that these aberrations are normal. The vast majority of our people are good, honest citizens who do care about helping the less fortunate, regardless of their differences because of race, religion, place of birth, or handicap. America has always come through and prospers, regardless of who the president was. I personally believe it's time to put the bitterness behind us of the election and trust in God. Lastly, there's a little movement going on, and it's called the safety pin movement. And I am wearing a safety pin on my little jacket. You can wear them on your lapels. It is a symbol of solidarity. And people that wear this little safety pin, they are telling others that they won't discriminate against them because of their race, because of their handicap, their special needs, their economic status, or anything. So if you're interested in being part of the movement, put a safety pin on and people will know that you're not going to do any of that. So, and that concludes my report. Happy and blessed Thanksgiving to all.
Thank you, Mrs. Belvier. I'd also, not to reiterate this over and over again, thank you, Mrs. Rudd. Those are very kind words, and you are correct. We oftentimes do hear all the negative things, but that's our job, and that's fine. But it is very encouraging to hear those things that you said, and they especially are true of our safety forces, and so thank you once again for pointing that out.
Thank you.
This last Friday for Veterans Days, I was able to take part of a small ceremony just to honor some of the local veterans here in this area. I was able to hear a brief message from Captain David Dietz, who's a chaplain in the United States Army Reserves, and we had probably a dozen or so veterans that we're able to honor there at that ceremony, and they truly are wonderful people. And to all of you that are here in Brooklyn, I know we have a lot of veterans that live in our city. Thank you for your service. Every generation is indebted to you, my generation especially. We've really not had to fight for anything in our generation, and you're on a broad scale like many generations have. And so thank you so much for your service to our nation. I know it's been alluded to about the election. I wanted to mention as well. 1 week ago tomorrow, approximately 122 million Americans voted in an election to choose our 45th president, including just under 5,000 of us right here in the city of Brooklyn voted. Our city had a little over 67% voter turnout, which was about 10% higher than the national average. 53% of us voted for Mrs. Clinton, 43% of us voted for Mr. Trump, and 4% of the folks in Brooklyn voted third party, and that's according to the results on the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections. And finally, after 15 months, as Mrs. Belmier mentioned, of divisive language and some pretty nasty back and forth from both sides, America has chosen our next leader. I have to say this election was tough for me. I've always taken my vote very seriously, and I've always done research on all candidates. But this is the first presidential election that I've been a father, and that made a huge difference. I've never spent more time in prayer over my vote than I did this time around. I prayerfully voted according to my conscience, in whom I believed would lead our nation. The American people hopefully have done the same and have chosen. Now, despite the reservations that many, including myself, have regarding this new administration, the American people have made their selection, and President-elect Trump will be our next president. Whether we support him or not, he will lead us, all of us. It is now our responsibility as Americans to rally around the Constitution and to embrace the will of the American people. What sets our nation apart from many places in our world is that we peacefully accept the decision of the American electorate, regardless of what that decision may be. Because of this tremendous amount of division during this campaign, unfortunately, that division does not simply end because the votes have been counted. Many people, as I've already been mentioned, have lost friends and alienated family members over this election. I've spoken with residents right here in the city of Brooklyn. In fact, just someone today mentioned to me that they've lost friends and have alienated family members because of who they voted for and who they supported. Friends, this simply ought not to be. As Frenchman Alexis de Tocqueville said, what makes America great is that America is good. When America ceases to be good, America ceases to be great. Good people do not let the opinions and viewpoints of others stand in the way of friendship or family. In 4 or 8 years, we will elect a new president, but friends and family are for a lifetime. During difficult times, it's not the President of the United States that will be by your side. It will be your family and your friends. If you supported Mr. Trump, please understand that the supporters of Mrs. Clinton are truly scared about what Mr. Trump may or may not do. Please listen to what they are saying and try to understand what they are thinking. If you supported Mrs. Clinton and are angry, please do not lash out at those who disagreed, but listen to what they are saying and try to understand. To succeed, America cannot continue as a divided nation. We must come together. We will not always agree, but we have to come together. It is not just a catchphrase. It must be a reality, and it starts with you, and it starts with me. I want my son, and you want your children and grandchildren to grow up in a country that is still the United States of America. For that to happen, we must set aside the vitriol and hate and start listening to those whom we disagree. When we listen and attempt to understand, it is then that true unity and success are sure to follow. Now that this election is over, finally, our attention can turn to the holiday season that begins next Thursday with my favorite of holidays, and that is Thanksgiving. Please recall this, what a former president once said on Thanksgiving Day some 20 years ago. He said, quote, "Thanksgiving Day is one of our most beloved holidays, an occasion set aside by Americans from earliest times to thank our Maker, prayerfully and humbly for the blessings and the care He bestows on us in our beautiful, bountiful land. Through the decades, through the centuries, in log cabins, country churches, cathedrals, homes, and halls, the American people have paused to give thanks to God in times of peace and plenty, or of danger and even in distress. Acknowledgement of dependence on God's favor was in fact our fledgling nation's very first order of business. When the delegates to that first Continental Congress met in Philadelphia in 1774, they overcame discord by uniting in prayer for our country. Despite the differences among them as they began their work, they found common votes in the 35th Psalm, which concludes with the verse saying, quote, "And my tongue shall speak of thy righteousness, and of thy praise all the day long," end quote. Our country has certainly seen more difficult times than this. I wish the new Trump administration a great deal of success, not because I agree with all of its policies, but because I am thankful to be an American, and I want America to be great for generations to come. And that concludes my report. Next up is the mayor's report.
Thank you, Council President Banker. I know a lot of you, the City Hall has been getting a lot of phone calls, and a lot of you have questions about NOPEC. So I just want to announce formally that Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council has reached an agreement with NextEra Energy Services Ohio LLC to become the new electric supplier. So First Energy will no longer be the electric supplier for NOPEC. This is a 3-year agreement that will start to take place at the end of this current agreement with First Energy, effective January of 2017. If you'd like any information, we have stuff on our website posted. You can also call NOPEC at 855-667-3201 or go onto their website at www.nopecinfo.org/electric update. As part of the agreement, they're to send you these opt-out letters. They have not yet. So if you are interested and you don't like the deal that they have brokered with NextEra, you do have that opportunity to opt out and look for another electric supplier. So you will see those in the mail coming shortly. Just want to remind everybody that the Water Department and Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District will start monthly billing beginning in January and February. It all depends on when your last quarterly bill landed, depending on whether you're going to start January or February, but you will see that now monthly. Additionally, I had a meeting with the Federal Aviation Administration in Cleveland Hopkins Airport. They are changing flight patterns for the Cleveland-Detroit Metroplex. The purpose of this change is to enhance aviation safety, reduce carbon emissions, and modernize the air traffic procedures for Cleveland Hopkins. The planning group is currently in the design phase and will be taking public comments until the middle of December. Once the public comment period closes, they will like to submit a plan for environmental approval with flight changes beginning in the spring of 2017. Again, this is all on our website if you're interested. It tracks out where these flight patterns. Brooklyn sees a slight increase in flights that are taking off, but it's not too much. So if you're interested and you're worried about it, go onto this website. I would like to thank all the veterans out there. I know I'm belated on Veterans Day, but I also would like to thank all of our firefighters, Fire Chief Zemek and Walmart. They hosted a breakfast for the veterans here in the city of Brooklyn. I was unable to attend that, but I heard it turned out to be a great event. And I know that Chief Zemek is looking forward to making a bigger event next year. Walmart donated all the food, and the firefighters and Chief Zemek cooked all the food. And they did have pancakes, it turns out. Also, the city was honored with receiving Large Business of the Year by the Chamber of Commerce. This was a result of the many partnerships that we forged this year, bringing new opportunities to the citizens, schools, and businesses. And lastly, I'd just like to wish everyone a great Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll now move on with director's reports, and this evening we begin with Fire Chief Zemek.
All right, well, I'm going to echo what the mayor said. We had the first annual Veterans Breakfast on Friday. It was attended by around 13 to 15 veterans from our community. Walmart brought all the food. There were about 11 folks from Walmart, including the manager of the store here, and that did the cooking, the serving of the veterans, and helping my folks to clean up when it was all said and done. So I really want to commend Walmart on there, stepping up to honor veterans also. And that's it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Next up is Service Director Verba.
Thank you. Just to let the residents know, we are out picking up leaves. We put signs out, and we may not be able to get to your street that day. Things happen. We have to pull people off the road. Plus, we're still getting acclimated to our new one-armed leaf truck. We cannot believe how many calls we've gotten last week. Residents complaining that we had to sign out and we didn't get there. We ask for your patience. We will get there. We are planning on doing Delora and North Cliff first thing tomorrow morning, and then we're going to head this week to Rodone from Biddulph to Memphis, and then we're going to continue on to Orchard, Ansonia, Morton, and Beach. That's our game plan right now for the next few days. We'll try to put signs out to let you know, but after we've been to your street, we're probably not going to be there for a while. So I know a lot of people will, as soon as we get done with the street, they're out there the next day and they're raking out the leaves again. Well, we still got to get to all the other streets. And there are streets that the leaves are falling plentiful, that we've even actually had to go back and do again. So just ask for your patience. We will be out there. Keep in mind that we were off on Friday, and then we're going to be off next for Thanksgiving and the following Friday. So we don't have too much time in the next few days, for next few weeks, but we will get to the leaves. A minor update on Tiedemann. I get a lot of calls, a lot of complaints. It's very frustrating on my end and our end as a city because we're trying to do everything we can, but this is a project that is heavily funded with ODOT money, so we're doing the best we can working with our consultant. As you noticed, if you written down, the bridge is done, but that doesn't mean they still have to seal the joints in phase 2. Then they're going to switch the traffic back to phase 1 to seal those concrete joints, and then they're still going to have to switch traffic again because they have to complete the medians that were taken out. So although it seems like looks like it's done, it's still not done. But as soon as we have a progress meeting on Wednesday, as soon as I have an exact date or even an estimate of when we think it's going to be completely open to motorists, I will put that on the city's website. And that's all I have.
Maybe recognize?
Yes, ma'am.
I forgot to add something in my report. Debbie, you mentioned the ordinance giving the service department permission. We did work on that, Director Verba and myself. It is sitting on Mr. Butler's desk for review, so he'll get that out as soon as he has a chance to make some comments on it.
Thank you, Mayor. And last this evening is Police Chief Melky.
As was previously mentioned, the holiday season is up and running. So I just wanted to put out a few friendly reminders to all the residents. When you're out shopping, make sure you lock your vehicle. Any packages or merchandise that you have in your vehicle, if you have a trunk, lock it up. Make sure it's out of sight. If you don't have a trunk, cover it up with a blanket. If you can, take the bigger items home. Theft from vehicles, still a big crime throughout the county, not just here in Brooklyn. And a big thing that we're seeing now is the theft of packages that are delivered to your home. So if you do use Amazon or one of the online retailers and you have plan on doing some Christmas shopping and having that stuff dropped off at work while you're at work, maybe a phone call to a neighbor to have it dropped off there, and the neighbor can come over and pick it up for you, or maybe have it shipped to your work. That's a possibility if your employer is okay with that, and or have it delivered when you are home, maybe on a weekend or something like that. So just looking out for everybody out there for their holiday shopping. Make sure everybody gets their gifts. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We'll now move on with our agenda for this evening. We do have 4 items in abeyance. I'm not going to reread the first 3, but Mrs. Pucci, did you want to read something about Resolution 2016-10?
Sure. Is that okay with you, Mr. Tansky?
Yes, it is. Go ahead.
Okay. So, and again, thank you to Mr. Butler. This is the current language supporting the efforts of organized labor unions and non-union employees to protect retirement healthcare cost sharing for active workers and retirees. Whereas City Council has become aware of instances in which local labor unions in the private sector, including the Utility Workers Union of America, Local 270, and non-union employees having negotiated and received retiree health care coverage for decades, have struggled to receive commitments from employers, and then this part is in parentheses, including First Energy in the case of UWUA Local 270, close parentheses, to continue sharing in the cost of healthcare coverage for retirees going forward. And whereas the dramatic shift in policy could have a crippling effect on thousands of local retirees and all active workers when they retire, ostensibly including many Brooklyn residents. And whereas work performed by labor union and other employees is often inherently dangerous, physically demanding work where workers are exposed to known hazards. And whereas employers have obligations to both their active and retired workers, and they should fulfill those obligations and negotiate healthcare cost sharing for current and future retirees. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Brooklyn, County of Cuyahoga, and State of Ohio, Section 1, that the Council of the City of Brooklyn, Ohio publicly supports local labor unions and non-union employees in the private sector in their efforts to negotiate and receive healthcare cost-saving commitments from their employers for current and future retirees, and urges those employers to negotiate cost sharing in good faith. And then Section 2 is just our clause that it's found and determined that all formal actions of the council concerning and relating to the adoption of the resolution was done in an open meeting, etc. So that is the current language. I don't know if anyone has any comments, questions on it. My suggestion, just because it's such a shift from what we had before, was if we could get this formalized and then maybe on the next agenda. I don't know if anyone has any.
I would agree with that.
Objections
Yeah, I've
to
not
that.
seen that either.
Right.
No, he just gave it.
And this was just.
Yeah, right, I know, that's
Yeah.
fine. But that would be my recommendation, is that it goes on the next agenda so that we all have a chance to look at it and comment to Mr. Butler. Thank you for doing that, Mr. Butler.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pucci. So we'll leave that in abeyance, and then we'll revisit that next meeting. Right, Resolution 2016-11 is up for third reading and adoption this evening, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the District Board of Health of Cuyahoga County for health services for the year 2017 for $46,016.
Move to adopt.
Second.
To adopt Resolution 2016-11, Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Barb Politzky,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Marco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci,
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Resolution 2016-13 and Resolution 2016-14, both on second reading, and I've already read these into the record. These are for the Community Development Block Fund Grants and the Supplemental Grant Program. Ordinance 2016-68 is up for a third reading and adoption this evening. That is authorizing a purchase and service agreement between the City of Brooklyn and Bailey Communications Incorporated for a new voice-over IP phone system and full-service 5-year maintenance agreement in the amount of $170,405.43.
Move to adopt.
Second.
To adopt Ordinance 2016-68, Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Barb Politzky,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
No.
Debbie Tomusko?
Yes.
Kathy Pucci?
Yes.
Mary Belbeer?
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-70, up for third reading adoption, is the amended annual appropriations.
Move to adopt?
Second.
To adopt ordinance 2016-70, Kevin Tansky?
Yes.
Barb Politzky?
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk?
Yes.
Tony DeMarco?
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko?
Yes.
Kathy Pucci?
Yes.
Mary Belbeer?
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-71 is up for third reading and adoption this evening, authorizing the mayor of the city of Brooklyn to pay an incentive to employees able to opt out of medical coverage under the city's medical plan.
Move to adopt?
Second.
To adopt ordinance 2016-71, Kevin Tansky?
Yes.
Barb Politzky?
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk?
Yes.
Tony DeMarco?
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko?
Yes.
Kathy Pucci?
Yes.
Mary Belbeer?
Yes.
Then ordinance 2016-73 is up for a third reading and adoption this evening, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Software Solutions Incorporated to provide an accounting and software system and upgrade for the finance and payroll departments.
Move to adopt?
Second.
To adopt ordinance 2016-73, Kevin Tansky?
Yes.
Barb Politzky?
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk?
Yes.
Tony DeMarco?
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko?
Yes.
Kathy Pucci?
Yes.
Mary Belbeer?
Yes.
Then ordinances 2016-77 and 78 are also both on second reading. I've already read those into the record. For new business, I will read these one more time. This ordinance 2016-82 is on first reading. That is our temporary annual appropriations for 2017. Ordinance 2016-83 is establishing rules and regulations and rental fees for the use of the City of Brooklyn Fire Station Community Room and the Community Center. Then lastly is ordinance 2016-84, accepting the medical insurance renewal for Medical Mutual of Ohio, providing medical insurance coverage for eligible employees from December 1, 2016 to December 31st, 2017, and dental coverage from December 1, 2016 to January 1, 2019. Do any other directors or council members of the mayor have anything else they need to say?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
To adjourn, Kevin Tansky?
Yes.
Barb Politzky?
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk?
Yes.
Tony DeMarco?
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko?
Yes.
Kathy Pucci?
Yes.
Mary Belbeer?
Yes.
Thanks for attending, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.